Meet Rusty. Rusty is a 16 megahertz Amiga 3000 that has not been turned on since 2001. The unit itself is for a subscriber, has 2 floppies. This had no screws in it and has the short... Oh god. It has very short LEDs here. Look how short they are. Normally the Amiga 3000 has lights that stick out real far. Inside this floppy looks just like this. The board itself has had the battery removed, and the damage is deceiving. It's got green all through here. The camera's not going to pick it up because the board is a dark green board. This is a revision 7. I don't think I'm going to be able to get the screws out, but we can at least... I can't get the floppy out. It's fused. So it's so rusty in here too that the back is as bad as the front. I had to take pliers and deox it to get it free. And I greatly apologize if this is not bright enough. So there is some shine left on the board. It says revision 9, but I don't know. It's totally rusted. The case is bent here a little bit. Doesn't look too bad on here, but rusted. All of this rust has seeped down all into here. Yay. They're wet, they're green, they're damaged. Power supply, extremely bad. This fan is definitely gone. We're going to take the whole case cover apart on that and take a look at that. Hello from the handheld. Power supply's not looking so good. It's been 40 minutes and I managed to get the 2 bolts out here, most of them out in the back. I have one more down in here. You can't really see it because it's so rusty, but it's a Phillips and it's supposed to be right here for the fan shroud, and that will allow the power supply to fold, and that's my pivot point, but I can't seem to get that free. So I hit it with some deoxit, some WD-40, PB Blaster, your mom. I'm gonna let it sit. Look at the crust here. I was just getting the screws out. Yeah, this side doesn't look too bad except for the back. The back is all wet, and whatever happened, all the video, everything, it must have been stored sitting upright or something. I don't really know the story. Just here to kind of see if we can bring some life back into this machine. Very interesting repair. Just you know, looks good. So this is going to go in the ultrasonic. Hopefully the sticker will survive. Inside, I'm going to unplug the fan because that's going to be toast. Here's the power board. There's a big reefa cap in here that is probably going to blow. Power supply board is intact. Awesome. How was it saved? By the plastic freaking liner in the bottom. Look at that. Plastic liner saved it. You can see the moisture. Glass fuse is blown. When I turn this on, it's going to make like a buzzing noise. It's vibrating this so fast, these are going to start knocking the rust off. I'm going to zoom in, and it's going to sound weird. See all the goop coming off of there immediately? See this nasty mess? This is the before. That's gross. I'm just going to stick that in there too. You can see it just obliterate. I'll have to change this water. Look at that. Everybody in the pool, hit it. Okay, put a towel over the thing because it was getting on my nerves. Alright, as you can tell by the crusty water, I think it did something. Let's towel that, let's get in there. Thank goodness. She's okay. Oof, that's a relief. Bottom of the board looks good. Oh, wait a minute. Got a bunch of crap over here. Great. So it's still wet. There's still wetness in the case after all this time. So it's going to need to be cleaned too. You can see the wetness. Back of the case, this is serial number 2125, 16 megahertz, Amiga 3000. I'm going to take the light module out for safety. It is currently midnight. Midnight! Anyway, I got a lot of the board cleaned up. It's taken a while. A lot of stuff. Power supply parts. Power supply turned out real good. Clean wise in the tank. Replaced the fuse. Haven't tested anything because it's still wet. Soaked it down with alcohol. A lot of cleanup. Excuse me. A lot of greening on all the slots. So I put some deoxit. Had to look at the can because I'm running out of brain power here. Deoxit and wiped it down. Scrubbed it with the old plastic brush to bring back the shine. Case-wise, is still just a freaking disaster wreck. Daughter board had some massive greening on the slot. So same scenario. This was deoxit with the brass brush on a slight single wipe. Not scrubbing, just same direction. Got all the greening out of there. Mainly down low here. So, yep. I found some weird blotch on the 030. And that's it for today. See you in a second. 12:06 a.m. Day 1. That's, I don't know what time it was when I started. I'll try and keep blurbing through that. Hello from day 2. I have cleaned the board with tetrahydroethylene. It's an electric non-conductive parts cleaner, and it's still a little wet. It evaporates. It's the equivalent of hot tanking your board in a can, and that's the electromotive parts cleaner. This is the parts cleaner I use for live running equipment. It's non-conductive. It smells like something the Joker would have fell in. 8:33 a.m. the next day. Yes, I'm still in the same clothes because when you're old, there's dirty and there's funky. And dirty you can wear again. So, representing the fried chicken. Small victory. I got the plastic shielding totally cleaned up. Hey, it's 10:03. I have been working on the old power supply. It looks a lot better. You see I have some silver now. I went through and just hit it with a wire wheel, Dremel tools, little sanding bubs, sanded off all the rust. You can see it's still in the holes, but it's sanded and the inside is as best as I can get it. This is still rusty, but the metal's so thin I don't want to like sand on it because I'm going to blow holes through it, but I've got enough of it kind of cleaned up. It looks a hell of a lot better. It's 10:30 a.m. Got the stainless fan cover cleaned up real nice. So now I'm jumping into this floppy drive. This thing is really, really bad. So we're going to take the final holding screw out. Oh man. Yeah, she's a little dirty. So I'm going to toss this in the tank and see what happens. Sticking out a crusty towel here. Does the head move? Yes, it moves now. I don't have to force it. Good, so that'll be re-lithium greased. Now, is it great? No, it's rusted. This is a plastic brush. It's rusted beyond anything. Sacrificial disc. Springs are gone. Nope. Oh, she's ejecting now. They are rusted solid. I got movement now. Give us an IPA bath real quick. So it's 11 o'clock in the morning. I think I'm done with the ultrasonic cleaning for a bit. Here's our board. You can see it's been cleaned up enough where I can start working on it. Once again, the normal area. Denise, Paula, Amber, this mess. Yeah. RTC video sync capacitors are gone. Like, I mean gone. Like, you want a capacitor? There it is. It's just, it's the new Wi-Fi kind. I'm not going to bore you with a recap. I'm just going to do it. I'm running out of 16 470s because I use them so much. I'm going to have to order some more. It's 1:36 p.m. Where are you on camera? 1:36 p.m. I got this done. I'm up to the power, and then I have a couple over here on the keyboard and joystick mouse. And then our caps will be done. But I'm going to take a break, go get some lunch, maybe a poultry product. Represent the shirt, taking a small break. 3:10 p.m. It's 8:05 p.m. I took a break. And everything's cool.
Everything's cool. Everything's cool.
Hi, it's 11:14 p.m. on Omnibot's clock. I have spent the better part of the day off and on working on the 3000. I took out all the chips to check the sockets. All the main guys over here are okay. 2 CIAs, a SCSI chip, the ROMs. I even pulled out Denise and Paula. They, chip-wise, look great. Sockets, another story. We're going to have to be replaced. I was thinking about pulling out the Agnes chip to check its socket because it is pretty nasty, and that was in the time bomb area. I have to finish putting on the capacitors. You can see I got them all out in some braid and almost out of my Kessler 186. I have some other caps and some different kits that I've accumulated, and I'm going to start using those caps and some other ones over here. Dropped solder tips. Big mess. Useless info. So that's where I'm at. I'm tired, and it's been a long day. Good morning from day 3? Anyway, last night around midnight, I decided to call it quits because the old brain bucket was running low on fluid. I printed out a whole boatload of the capacitors and blah, 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 who goes what where. That was my chair. And I have myself a fresh cup of coffee in my Star Trek mug. And we're going to get back to it. Soldering station's heating up. Hey, it's 8:50 a.m. I'm just cleaning up some funky cold Medina here off of the decoupling capacitors near the power supply. And for those who say they don't leak, that is not flux. That is poop from Shoeies. And whatever these blue ones are, dark blue, Elena. She must be Varda's sister. 9:23 a.m. Helmet of Goober. I ran out of my 16 470s, so I had to tap into an old Amiga kit, something 4000 I think it was. Had a couple of them in there, so I used those for the decoupling caps for the power supply. I have all the chips out because I don't like to keep them in there while I'm working on stuff. Plus I like to inspect the sockets. This side, great. This side, not so great. I'm going to have to desolder both of these. But right now I'm going to clean up the flux residue from my solder points and take a small breather. One goofy thing on one of the glass beads, one of the connectors was not making contact because of battery rot, so I just bridged it underneath from C190 to the D191. Yep, that was my only hiccup. Couple of blurbed ground points where like the lead solder from the 1980s was just too much, even at maximum heat. Couldn't get it out. I have a secret for that. I take a finger poker here, and it's a very fine pick, and I kind of just stick it in there and just start twisting a little bit. You don't want to push through there, just enough to make a hole, and then you can make it bigger by just a little bit of heat and just wobbling this. It helps. Might help you if you're having some trouble with a stuck hole. I want to put the power supply back together. As you can see, we have it all cleaned up and shiny again. She's looking brand new. Put some old masking tape over the old stickers here. Left the original paint booger too. And just resprayed it with an aluminum primer plus filler. It is pretty ate up in here. That was just the damage that it had. Bottom, inside, rained down a little bit while it was drying. No big deal. But saved on the screws to reinsert all the grounds, and we're going to just wire brush that area on the inside to make sure we have proper grounding. It's been about 3 days. The board's totally dried out now after its tank in the ultrasonic. As you can see, much better. Doesn't stink anymore. New fuse. We're going to put the switch back in. I did not submerge this because of the clicking. I did have to cut the heat shrink, which I'm going to reheat shrink with other tubing. This will simply just plug back onto here. And then this gets mounted in the case. These two wires are the grounds that will go to the bolts that I'm pulling out now. So here's your power supply. New. I don't have a fan in it right now, but I wanted to show you the before and after. So here on your right is a before. Look at that rust. And here is an after. So spray painted in aluminum. Top, back, geez whiz. Sides, bottom, hot tanked. All on the inside is now clean. We did lose a screw during the endeavor. It's one of the mounting screws here, but you know, it's getting there. Power supply works. Watch. Friggin' awesome. The reason I wanted to do this is in case I screwed something up and some science happened and I electrocuted myself. So, there we go. One power supply rebuilt and functional. And it looks pretty damn good, if you ask me. I saw the rusty befores, and now she's all back together, minus a couple fingerprints. Looks a lot better than that big pile of rust. And with the original stickers on it, she'll look a lot better in the case, sitting there shiny and metal looking, than that big ball of rusted funk that this thing must have drank. Alright, here we go. Kind of rested the power supply on the daughter board on this little plastic graphics card slot. I plugged in the lights. These are not special low profile lights. They're snapped off. Turn on the monitor. I don't expect this to do anything right now because I still have the other death lights around me. Let's see. Resistor pack's getting warm. I have a resistor pack up here that gets really warm too all the time. Chip RAM, ice cold. Blue Logic. Slightly warm, but it's just resistor packs. That's a good thing. Agnes, barely even a hint. Paula, ice cold. Denise, ice cold. Gary, you wouldn't be doing nothing anyway.
Who is this Gary character?
Buster ain't bussin'. Rom's cold. Super DMAC cold. CIA's cold. I am not going to pursue this further because I know what's wrong. I just wanted to see if the power supply worked and it powered the board. That's cool. So what I'm going to do is I'm going to have to take out Denise and Paula here and replace their sockets. They are as green as this board. And that has been my theme lately, bottom of the ocean. That's just kind of the way it's going. Those 2000s were pretty rough. So this was, yeah. This is the area. So Denise, Paula underneath. Battery, literally right here. Diarrheas. Now it is currently 2:14 p.m. on Saturday. So we'll keep on trucking. I gotta go to Best Buy and pick up an 80mm fan. Hello, it is 6:39 on Saturday. Clock might be up there too. And what we're going to be doing here, as I knocked the power cord out of the camera, is I'm going to be installing sockets for Denise and Paula here. So, for this, we'll do Paula first. I should do Denise, but we're going to do Paula. What was that thing? Okay. Because it's right here on the end. So I have to do these and these. Now what I like to do is I add solder to the points. I want to show you. And then I will show you one removal. So here's Paula. I'm going to take in just some rosin core solder, and since I don't have a soldering iron heated up, I'm going to use this as my soldering iron, just on the side to show you. So you can flux it if you want. You can, but I don't really need it because I'm going to be using the air, so I don't want the flux in there. So just go ahead and add solder to it. I'm going to do a couple points. You're going to see they're big. Okay, so that's an example. The reason I did that is, see the hole size of this tool? See how that tool has a certain size hole? And these pins here are not as large as this hole. So what happens is a lot of people will put the tool on here and go circular motions to melt solder, right? The problem with that is you will gouge the via around by doing this. You will mess up the trace that connects to that hole that you want to get to, okay? So the idea is, I'm going to show you, I'm going to zoom in some more. If I can, I'm going to do this so I can see it without my big fat hand in the way. So place the thing over top and just let it sit there for a second. And once the solder is melted, lift. So anyway, there's one. Okay, I'm going to do the next one, and I'm going to back it out so maybe it'll hold focus. So touch the solder ball and let it melt. Hold it for a second, and then just squeeze the trigger and it comes out nice and clean. See that? So this one and this one. Now the reason I added more solder is so it would have something to melt against. If I was to put it on one of these pins, what happens is the tool hole is larger or smaller. Yeah, the tool hole itself is way larger than that pin. So your instinct is to go around in circles. How do I know this? Because it's called live and learn. So I figured I would try to share that knowledge with you, and that's kind of it. So you can see the holes have been sucked. 7:22 p.m. So as you can see, this side, nice. This side, freaking death. It's got battery acid underneath. All the vias look like they're there. Yeah, that's a pretty substantial yuckiness. Still green crap coming out of there. So always use your judgment when you're repairing a socket. 8:02 p.m. Both sockets are out, and just as I was confirming, the green goop of death is all under Denise, and I don't know if the traces are still good. The socket came out pseudo-okay. I did do the crack method, and I actually did both. I solder sucked and did the snip, just to get all the junk out of there. I do have to clean a couple holes up with some braid, but I wanted to reduce the amount of goopy old leaded solder that was in there. Now I'm just going and alcoholing the holes just to get whatever was in there out. I'm still picking up green everywhere. So yeah, these damn Vargas, they are evil. 8:20 p.m. Sockets are in. Turned out well. I'm going to clean up, then we're going to go for a fire up. Toss diagram in there. Fired it up. Yep. Think I have Denise problems? Yeah, I don't know. These are Denise bad traces. 9:06 p.m. Saturday. Hello, day 4. It's 4:45 p.m. And after the other day on the unsuccessful power on, if I even showed that, I'm going to go ahead and use the Sprint layout viewer here and start tracing pins over on Denise to see what we can get on video here. So I'm going to start right at the beginning here. We go to test here, I got to go here and then over to Paula. So I'm going to get the continuity tester all set up and start beeping things to see where my problem lies, and then we'll have to do some bodge wires probably, maybe an IC somewhere. We'll find out. We got 2 new sockets, so we should be okay on at least connectivity there, I hope. Hello, it's the Rusty day 4. Hooked up a 1084S, put Omnibot on the floor, so I got my soldering station, all this hoopla. Long story short, new Denise socket, new Paula socket. Board is really ate up underneath, but I can get diagrammed to sort of work. So you're going to see here flickery because I'm in NTSC, but I have these lines that are on the board. So sound is working, but look, when I let go, press it again. These are brand new sockets. There's the amber. It's RGB. Fine. If I go to graphics test, whoops. Test picture. RGB's fine. Until I let go, then it gets all weird. You can boot diagram and panel if you press the space bar on the main menu. These weird lines will go away if I grab the chip and pull on it. Graphics test picture, everything looks groovy. Let go, I have lines. Amber comes back. It's out of phase. There is a chip called an NE 564N. It's a phase lock chip. I think that it was really green. That might be toast. I don't know. I'm just trying to get RGB working. This will only boot diagram. It will not boot a regular Commodore ROM, the 1.5s that it came with. This was totally broken. When you have rot on a board, man, these batteries do just horrible things. And all this, like Paula and Denise get it when that battery blows. And it blew everywhere. 11:42 a.m. 1:02 p.m. on the wall there. And what did I do? This that socket was really bad. So I did the unthinkable and I soldered the freaking Denise right to the board. I had to. There was some separation with the acid and fiberglass penning it away. It was making it worse, so I just shoved her in there, went through the hole, and I filled her up and made sure the solder came through the top. Gave her a nice squeeze. Boom, she boots. 1084S with the weird scrolling effect. If you're catching any of that, might look a little bit bland in color, but running through the memory test now here. Audio. So I had to put Kickstart 3.2 in there just to get her to boot. Let's see what happens. So I'll pull out this, run it off of ADF. We'll let it boot. It does take a little bit longer because with the 3000 it's looking for the SCSI bus. Also it is looking for a floppy drive, which isn't there. So it will take a few seconds to pop on. There you go. The reason you're seeing 2 monitors is this is not a dual screen display. I have an RGB connection and I'm also in the amber for the flicker fixer. But the flicker fixer is effed. Watch. Yeah. It's close. I'm getting there. At least I have a display. I had the worst time with this variable capacitor. 7 picofarad. So I just flip her off. Leave it on RGB in the VGA port. It works. It's just not flicker fixed. It's not scan double. That's the word. My brain's gone. I'm not done. This has still got some severe issues. At least the reset bus is kicking in. I don't care if it's Guru. As soon as the graphics go to kick in, it resets. So after a short elude, Mortimer, we're back. Sorry for the more effect. More, whatever that word is. What's that word? Moire? I don't know. Cool. So it works, sorta. Try putting the original ROMs back in, see how far I get. I'm getting hungry. I might take a breather for lunch. 1:20 p.m. Okay, so apparently soaking your original Kickstart ROMs in a humid environment for 21 years makes them not work. So these are actually dead as doornails. I put my Amiga 3000's original Kickstart ROMs in, and they work fine. As did the 3.2s. I have a super kickstart disc. Just knocked the power cord out. Have a super kickstart disc inserted. I just said floppy. Insert. Oh man, it's DF0. You son of a. Little did you know, when you turn an Amiga 3000 on, by default the kickstarts are loaded to the hard drive or a floppy disk that I don't know where it is. And you can choose to boot off of the hard drive or a floppy disk, and when you kickstart, have a super kickstart disk, which you make through the actual install of your own hard drive build. You can say create a super kickstart disk for these type of scenarios, and you can have a 2.0 or 2.1 was it, Workbench 2 and a Workbench 1.3 on the same drive, and it would do some magic and you could run both. Kind of cool. Think of it like the Amiga 1000 without the kickstart disk after you build it. But until then, this is what you get. Okay. So super kickstart disk, we're going to load kickstart 2. Loading kickstart 2 off of this crusty ass floppy that I hot tanked. And then the super kickstart disk would be accessible. Watch. See? That's how super kickstart disk works. You can do the same thing if you turn it off. So turning it off. Why am I turning it off? Because it's like NVRAM. Warm reboots don't require it. Just like the Amiga 1000. Again, we're going to choose Kickstart 1.3 this time. Both Kickstarts are on the floppy disk, because Kickstart 1.3 is only 256K, and Kickstart 2 was the first 512K Kickstart. You can, the benefit of Super Kickstart discs is you don't need a ROM. This ROM is like the de facto for everything, and you can load anything. I have a 314 Super Kickstart disc, and 3.2, you can make them whatever you want. I'm gonna go get some lunch. I do this all the time. It's almost 2 o'clock. I gotta eat later. Be back.